Hello and welcome to LevelUP. This is our Python series where Angus is going to teach you the basics of coding in Python. Enjoy!
Alright, so to get started here, we're going to go to this website, repl.it, so if you navigate here, and this is an online IDE, which is just a place where we can write and run our Python code. So we're going to hit Start Coding, select Python as our language, and hit Create Repl.it, and this will get everything we need set up for us. Just let it load. Right, here we go. Okay, so let's talk about what we've got going on here. In the middle here, we have our editor, and this is where we're going to write all of our code. And on the right here, we have our console, which is where all of our code that we write will get outputted. If we tell it the program to output something, it'll get output over here. So to get started, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to display some text out to the console on the right there. So I'm going to write some code. If you follow along with me, type out this code. So I'm going to type out print, open bracket, close bracket, and then inside here, 2 quotation marks, and in here we're going to type hello world, just as a nice greeting message. And to run our code, we're going to hit the green run button up the top here. And there we can see hello world has been displayed out to our console. Now, let's talk about what we just did here. So this print statement here is what's called an inbuilt function in Python. It's basically some code that's been written for us that we can just use. So anytime we want to display something to the console, we type out print, and then in between these 2 brackets here, we give it the value that we want to display to the screen. And in this case, we've said display the text hello world. And we can put anything in here. We can say greetings. If we hit run, we can see that's displayed, or welcome. Anything we put in there is displayed out to the screen. Great, so congratulations, that's you've written your first Python program. So from here, we're just going to temporarily get rid of this line, and we're going to look at a core concept in programming, and that's variables. So sometimes we need to be able to store data when we run our program, so we can process it later. And the way we do that is by using variables. So what we're going to do is we're going to create one. So we'll type out, and I'll talk through what we've got. So we're going to type out name =, and then using 2 quotation marks like we used earlier inside the print statement, and type out Angus or whatever your name inside there. So what we've said here is we want to create a variable called name, and we want to give it the value of Angus. And what this is called, well, if you've used Scratch before, you'll be familiar with this. This is called text. Python, we call this a string, and that's just a fancy name for text. But all we've done here is we've said the variable name, give it the value Angus. Now, I'm going to run this code, and you tell me what you think is going to happen on the console out here. So I'm going to hit run. You see nothing was outputted here. Now, that's because all we've told the computer right now is that we want to create this variable, but we don't want to show it to the user. So now to show it, we're going to use that print function that I showed you just a few minutes before. So to display this, we're going to type print, 2 brackets, and then instead of using the double quotation marks like we used earlier, like this, Angus, we now have that stored up here. So we can just reference this variable. We can say name, and this, when the program runs, we'll see the variable name, and it'll say, oh, we have a variable called that, and it gets this value, and it prints it for us. So if we run this now, we can see that Angus is displayed to the screen. So I pause the video here and go ahead and try and create your own variable and then display it to the screen. It could be maybe your favorite food and then print that out to the display. So pause here and try that now. Alright, so I'm going to go with that example. I'll show you how to do that again. I'm going to go with that example of favorite foods. And we'll say fav food. So this is going to be our variable name. And we're going to use the equal symbol to say that we want to give this the value of, and we'll use our double quotation marks to say that we're creating a string, which is just our text, remember. And I'll say pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? And now, if you remember, this isn't going to output just now because we've only told the pizza, the computer to store this variable. So to print it, we're going to type out print and then fav food, and this will see that this variable has that value and it displays out to the screen for us. I'm going to revert here back to where we had our name equals Angus. And we're going to type print name. Okay, if we get a user to use our program right now and they know nothing about programming, they're not going to know where to put their name in here because all they're going to see when they run the program is this output here. So we want to be able to get an input from the user. So as such, we want to ask the user what their name is. So instead of having our fixed value here, instead what we can do is use another function similar to the print statement, but called input. And what this function does is in the console, we're then able to type in a value and it will be assigned to this variable name. And inside this input here, we can display a nice message to ask the user for the type of data we want. So inside these, we're going to use two quotation marks and we're going to say we want to display some text to the screen. We're going to say, what is your name? Question mark. So I'm going to run this and we'll talk through what happens. So we hit run and we see what is your name is displayed here. I'm going to type Angus, hit enter, and we say Angus is printed out. So this function here, this input function, displays this message here, left click here. It displays this message out here, out to the display, out to the console, sorry, on the right here. What is your name? And then I typed in the value Angus there, and that is then assigned to this variable. So essentially when the program runs and we hit enter, this is overwritten with Angus. That's what happens when we type that in. And then this is just the exact same program we had before, and we're then just printing it. So I'll just get that input back there. Yeah. And then, yeah, we can see that's printed out. But all of this print here, this isn't very user-friendly. We say, what is your name? Angus. That's just, the user knows their name. That's not very personal. So what we can actually do is we can combine strings to make a more user-friendly statement, for example. So I'm going to delete this quickly. And we're going to type out print again. Use our two brackets, remember. And then inside here, we're going to use two quotation marks to say we're going to create a string. And we're just going to create a nice welcome message that says, welcome. And then so there we've got our string welcome. And if we run that, you can expect, well, it's going to ask us for a name, Angus, and then it says welcome. And then we want to put a name after that to make it look more personal. So what we can do is we can use the plus symbol, and then name. And what this is going to do is combine these two strings into one string. So if I type in, say, Angus again, the output string will then be welcome Angus, because it's combined the two. So if we run this, you can see what's your name, Angus, We've run that before, we know what that does. We hit enter, and then we can see welcome Angus is displayed. So that's quite a lot I've just covered there. So as the next little challenge, I want you to try and create your own input statement. Maybe ask a user for their favourite foods. I know I keep using that example. It's the first one I can think of the top of my head, but ask the user for any information they want. Maybe if they have a cat, their cat's name, I don't know, just ask them anything, and then we're going to assign it to a variable, like we've done here, and then I want you to print it out. So I'm going to delete this code here, and pause the video here and try that. If you can't do it, don't worry, I'll show you again once you come back, but have a shot now. So I'm going to go back to the favourite food example again, because I like that, and we're going to create a variable here called favFood. We're going to use the equal symbol, remember, to say that we're going to assign a value to this. We're going to use this input function in 2 brackets. And in here, we're going to type the message that we want to display to get the user to give us information. So I'm going to ask, what is your favourite food? And then we can just run this. We'll just test it, make sure it's working. So by the time we write more code, this could be broken, and we just want to make sure it's working. What's your favourite food? I'll write pizza. As we've probably established by now, I do like pizza. I'll hit enter so we see everything's working. And now what we want to do is we want to print that. We'll print our nice meaningful message. We'll type your favourite food is. Oops, there we go. And then remember, we're gonna do that. Use the plus symbol to combine 2 strings together, and then we're gonna reference this variable up here that we've created, favFood, and then that'll combine all of this string into one. So when we type in pizza here, we get the message, your favourite food is pizza. Excellent. Alright, so well done on getting this far. We've learned quite a bit right now. We've learned how to display messages out to the console. We've learned how to get information back from a user from the console, and how to create a variable, and then even how to combine 2 strings together. So now what we're going to do is create some conditions. Now if you've ever done Scratch before, you might be familiar with if statements, where we can check if a condition is met, and we can run some different code based on the input of a user. So in my case here, I'm going to stick with this favourite food example, and we can see if the favourite food of the person is pizza, we can display that is a great choice, because pizza is a great choice. And then otherwise, you can say something along the lines of pizza is better than your choice, or something like that. So I'm going to get rid of all this again, and just for the sake of getting all this code stuck in your head, we're going to rewrite this. We're going to create our variable favFood equals, and why don't you go ahead and write that out if you can remember it. What is that function that allows us to get information back from the user? Can you remember? Okay, if you can't, no worries. We're just going to type out, it's called input. Going to remember to use our 2 brackets, and inside here using our 2 quotation marks to say we want a string, and we'll type out the message that we want to display to the screen. In this case, we'll say, what is your favourite food? Oops, the daisies, did not mean to do that. There we go. So we've successfully got the user's favourite food here. Now we're going to create, this is where we're going to start creating new things. So to check if the user's favourite food is pizza, we're going to use what's called an if statement. This might look complicated at first, but once we start getting into it, it'll make total sense, don't worry. So we're going to use if here, and then we're going to type our favFood. So we're saying we're referencing our favorite foods, and this is going to get whatever value we've had here, and it's going to replace it here. And we're going to use two equal signs to say we want to compare it to the value pizza. And then we're going to use a full colon here, and then take a new line. And you can see this, the IDE has automatically indented it for us. And then we can just print out a nice message here saying, great choice. Okay, this looks confusing, I know, but let's talk through it right now. This if statement, when we type if here, it tells the computer, oh, we're about to compare something, so it knows to get ready for that. And we're saying, if our favorite food, so the food that the user has inputted from the console over here, equals pizza, so if they type in pizza, we want to print great choice. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to hit run here. What is your favorite food? I'm going to type in pizza, and we can see that great choice is displayed. Now, I'm going to run this again, and I'm going to type in something other than pizza. I'm not going to type pizza. I'm going to say sandwiches. So there we go, sandwiches. And what do you think is going to happen? Do you think we're going to get a great choice displayed? You see, nothing gets displayed. And that's because, well, pizza wasn't inputted. But what if we want to have multiple choices? I mean, people can have multiple favorite foods, right? Then we can use this other special keyword called else. We're going to use this colon, and then on the new line here, we're going to type out print, and we're going to use our simple print statement like we've been using for this whole tutorial now. And in these quotation marks, we'll just type out a message that says, pizza is the best. There we go. Now, notice these lines here are indented a bit using the tab, like that. It's important that you get this right, otherwise this won't work. So you have to have this and this on the same level of indentation, if that makes sense. And these print statements indented a bit. I know it's pernickety, but that's how Python works. And you'll get used to it. But what we've basically said here is, if a food equals pizza, so if the user types in pizza, we're going to display great choice. But otherwise, this else statement basically says if they type in anything that isn't pizza, we're going to display this message here. So let's run this now. When we type in pizza, we get the great choice. That's what we coded last time, we expected that and we got that. Now, when we type in sandwiches last time, we saw that nothing got displayed. But now when we hit enter, we see that pizza is the best is displayed here, because we said that anything else that the user inputs that isn't a pizza, we want to display them this message. Now there's one last cool thing that we can do with these if statements, and if you they're called else ifs. And if you'll know, if you've done Scratch or any other programming language before, you'll probably know about these, but we can compare multiple things at a time. So if we want to say, maybe also if your favorite food equals, let's say sandwiches, we've been using that. We can also say then, we can use this special keyword called elif, and then we can check again. We can say fav food equals. This is just a fancy symbol to say compare is equal to. And using our two quotation marks, we'll type in sand. I don't know how to spell sandwiches. There we go, sandwiches. We're going to use that semicolon, remember? And we can see it's automatically indented for us, and we'll type print. We can type alright choice. Pizza is still superior. Okay, so this elif statement is just a fancy another keyword that basically says if this condition isn't met up here, so if the user doesn't type in pizza, we can also check this and see if the user inputted sandwiches. And if the user did input sandwiches, we print that. And then that's it, the program ends. But if the user doesn't enter pizza and the user doesn't enter sandwiches, this final condition is still run. So let's try that. We're going to hit run. I'm going to do the same thing. We'll type in pizza and we see that we get great choice because that's what we got. We enter pizza, we get that message. We're going to hit run again. Favorite food, and we're going to set up in sandwiches. And then we say, all right, choice pizza is still superior is displayed, like we told it to do here. We can see we've typed in sandwiches here, and that's assigned to favorite food. This condition here is checked. We see we're saying, does our favorite food equal pizza? So sandwiches are not the same as pizza. So that's false. So we don't run that code. This isn't run. And we go to the next statement and say, is our favorite food equal to sandwiches? Which it is. We've typed that in. And then we print this message here. And then finally I'll hit run again and we can type in anything else. I'll say apples and we say pizza is best because this isn't true, this isn't true. So we're just going to run this instead. All right, so we've covered a lot there. So well done if you've for getting this far. Now I'm gonna give you a challenge here, and this will be quite hard. But I want you to ask the user to get a username, and then using if statements like we've just seen here, see if it matches a username, and if it does, its username can be anything, make it up, whatever you want to make it, and if it matches it, display access granted, and if it doesn't match it, say access denied or something like that. Okay, so go away, try that. If you can't, don't worry, I'm going to do it in just a few seconds here, so pause the video and give that a shot. Alright, I hope that went well for you. Don't worry, right, we're going to cover it now. So, first thing we want to do, what we've been doing for quite a bit now, is we want to get an input from the user first. So we're going to create this username variable, and we're going to give it the value. We're going to ask for the input from the user and say, what is your username? So we're creating the variable username, and then we're giving it the value that is returned from this input, whatever the user types in. What is your username? So now we want to check that, and we're going to use the if statements to compare if our username matches the system username. So if we type in if, remember that's our keyword that says we're going to check something here. We're going to say username. That's us referencing this variable up here, and we're going to use these two equal signs, that fancy operator here, to compare it to something. And then we're going to say, maybe make our username, I don't know, Angus Henderson. That's just a lame username, but there we go. And then we're going to remember use our colon here to say that if this is true, this is the code we're going to run. And then that's tabs for us. And then we can type in here, print, welcome to the matrix. There we go. That's what we'll type something funny in there. Now, what if this isn't true? What if the user gets the wrong username? Well, we don't want to give them access to our system, do we? No, that would be wrong. So we can type else. Remember, it's basically saying if this isn't true. So if the user doesn't type in our username here, we're going to run this code. We're going to use our semicolon, our full colon here again. Sorry, and C is tabbed. Then we're going to type print access denied, and we can do it in all caps to make to let the user know that you've got their own username. So let's run this quickly. We'll see what's your username. I'm going to type in Angus Henderson, and we can see welcome to the matrix is displayed. Because this condition was met, we typed in that, as seen here. So this condition is true, and we get that nice welcome message. Now let's run that again, and let's say I tried the username Angus123, and we see access is denied because this condition here is not true. We typed in Angus123, and Angus123 does not equal Angus Henderson. So we run this else statement here which says access denied. Excellent.
That's it for this video. Check out our channels for some more tutorials from Angus on Python. Join us next time. Bye.